I'm Sharon Lerzer. I'm a family therapist, and primarily I'm a Sasin Yin therapist, having specialized over many, many years, that's 35 years, in working with families. So, I call this parenting basics. And they're not in order of importance, because I see it more, horizontal than vertical. So, first thing, presence, being there. Nothing can replace being there. And there I mean being there physically, but also being there, which is nowadays quite a conscious decision because we have a lot of distractions and a lot of demands upon us. So why I find that an important, very important golden thread throughout parenting is because our children, we ourselves have been children, how we develop, how they have a sense of I am me, starts from the very first day, how they see themselves reflected in our eyes, in our demeanor. In other words, they must experience us seeing them. Seeing includes hearing them, touching them. So by being seen, I don't just simply mean visual. But that feeling that my reference adult sees me makes all the difference. And that can only happen if I'm present. And I know that for many, many, many parents, many families, there's a lot of juggling going on. Juggling work, juggling more than one child, juggling a career, juggling a personal process. All of it's happening all at once. I'm very, very aware of it. Yet that presence, that being very consciously in my body, in my center, and from there, seeing what are my priorities makes all the difference. It might not even be so much of a juggle. If we're just gazing over the tops of the heads of our children, we're just kind of hoping it's going to work and throwing a blanket over it and hope, well, that'll cover it all. But we haven't discerned, this is what's needed in this moment. This is what my child's feeling in this moment. Aha, I can provide that. So in other words, we actually save time because we're just not throwing a whole lot of stuff at it and hoping one of them's going to work. And then all the stuff that doesn't work, we get reactions, counter reactions and mega dramas and all kinds of stuff happening that didn't need to happen if we were more precise with our knowledge. Next on my list, one of my favorites is structure. Truly important. And in our modern day destructuralization of a lot of things that are historically have been in place that don't serve us anymore, that destructuralization has influenced schooling, families, social situations, and it's up to us almost now to provide that structure because around us, the village isn't holding the structure. So going to the actual basics of structure, like of a house, where without the structure, there's not much of a house. In our bodies, our bones, without our bones, we'd sort of look like an amoeba. So structure is mega important for function. It's also mega important for a feeling of safety. And we have, let's say, 2 layers, to make it simple, of structure. One is inner values, the structure of our inner values. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable? What's a rule? What is negotiable, what's not negotiable? This is truly up to the parents to put in place. This gives the children, like when we are in a house, the wall to bump into and go, oh, that's a wall. We haven't developed yet to walk through walls, so actually when I bump into the wall, that's stopping me. Oh, okay, well then I know I have to go that direction if I want to get around the corner. Then there's the other type of structure, which is the rhythms, the habits, house rules, traditions, rituals, the things that normally a society and a family has already put into place. This is what we always do. July the 4th is Fireworks Day in Canada. Yes, we all know this. That's a structure. What's built around that structure might be individual for each family, but there are these outer structures that we can count on. Within the family, it's up to the parents to set this structure. And sometimes it's an inherited structure. It's what we always do. Family's done it since great-great-grandma. Or it's what we find now works for us in this situation. The value of structure is that children who have a certain amount of structure can count on it without it being an issue in itself. Communication. Clearly, for all of us, we realize how important communication is. A lot of our methods of communication we've taken for granted. That's just what I do. But it's important to start realizing that how we're communicating lands in our child. And to start to realize the effects of how I'm communicating and what I decide to communicate. In other words, we should become more conscious of it. Communication isn't just about what I'm telling you. It's about me listening. The ability to listen and witness. There's a huge reason for that. One very simplistic reason, which I'll go into as the reason here. And that is, if we haven't listened, we're not informed. We're actually on a monologue. Because we have our ideas, and that's what we think this is all about. Then once we've listened, we may see, and this is a big development for many of us, that it's not all about us. And that there are other people involved, no matter what their age. That for them, they are the center of their universe, and we must hear what their universe feels like, looks like, smells like. When we're thus informed, that's when we start to team up. A big skill in communication is to respond within our couple and with our children from a place of witnessing. That's where the listening comes in. To be able to witness the other person. And from there, decide what guidance does my child in this moment need. So it's not necessarily from the book. It's not necessarily what my father taught me. It might be the essence of what my father taught me, but adapted to nowadays. So that communication of responding by knowing and listening to what's going on, that can become guidance. Communication also includes body language. We may say one thing and our body might be saying something totally different. So we want to get right down in there and make sure that we're sincere about what we say. And because bodies don't lie. We can try, but they won't. The other vehicle for communication is our tone of voice. The words we use might say one thing, but our tone of voice might say something quite different. Believe me, your children will receive your tone of voice before they receive your words. So whatever you say means zero if it's not in tune with your tone of voice. And it empowers what you want to say when you sincerely, really want to communicate this, and you're such peace with it that your tone of voice matches what you're saying. Another parenting basic. Autonomy. Not really a subject that's written too much about or spoken too much about as far as I've seen when we're talking about parenting. Yet what autonomy means to a human being is crucial. And it's quite a journey and quite a dance to respect and keep our own autonomy, respect and grow a child's autonomy at the same time as holding structure, communicating what we need to communicate, socializing them. I mean, this is huge. And yet, when we see ourselves as adults, when we see the result of parenting coming out where a child is lacking in autonomy, I'm sure everyone has seen that they are also lacking in tools and lacking in self-confidence. What does autonomy mean? I can't philosophically say I've got the scoop. As far as I've seen, very much it is a sense of I am. I own me. I own my own experience of this world and my own experience of me. So in very, very simplistic terms, the most basic in this short conversation I'm having now, a little tip, for example, would be never tell your child how he or she is feeling. Do not diagnose your partner and tell them what's going on inside of them. And that's just a starter of what autonomy could mean. Then we have practical autonomy, which is learning skills for themselves. The classic, when do we teach a child to tie their shoes? And how fast is it? Well, now it's Velcro, by the way. Tying shoes is just not happening. But if it were the situation that child should learn to tie their own shoes, isn't it faster to do it ourselves? Pa-ching, and out the door. However, we're hoping that they learn this skill, gain autonomy, and with it that pride in who they are. Also, that's just a small example of practical autonomy. So, autonomy equals self-responsibility, not unbridled freedom. Not being willful and you get everything you want because you're autonomous and that's what you wish for, therefore it must be provided and that makes you a free person. That's not autonomy. Autonomy includes self-regulation. The idea of rules and regulations that are imposed upon a human are that they become integrated and become self-regulation. That's autonomy. So following up on autonomy is authority. So to put that into a nutshell is almost impossible. But I have, over all these years, noted everybody has a relationship with authority. Most people are not quite sure how to exercise their own authority, especially with their own children. Of what authority truly means, I've come to see it as being well-versed in the subject, knowing what we're talking about, and from there, being willing to guide. And being so confident in our own learning that we can hold that firmly as a structure, so that our no or our yes, this must be done, comes from a deeper place of conviction. Authority that gets to the level of because I say so, which is what we're often left up to, or manipulation, or downright dictatorialship, or whatever. Most of that's covering up certain gaps that we're feeling because we're not feeling very expert on the situation. Why is this? Because children dish up situations we've never lived before. So we aren't an expert. So the next level where we aren't experts is to hold authority with, I will find out. And I am so confident in holding my position in our hierarchy, because this is our deal, that I am the leader, the guy that's rubbing this ship, that I'll go find out. That's my job. And not revert to crushing someone who doesn't understand, and I don't either. What we truly want is authority that inducts invites and inducts children into cooperation and curiosity. A hope that by accepting our authority, they actually have a lot to benefit. And that depends a lot on how we bring it across. And there will definitely be times where they feel no benefits from this because it is so not what they want. Authority, we would hope, is something that teaches children safely. It helps them feel safe, safeguarded, well-equipped, and in learning of how to carry their own authority. Which means that as they grow, they gain in stages of autonomy, which also means authority. They get to make certain choices, and they are authoritative about those choices, say, about their own clothing, about how the food's displayed on their plate, about which friend they would like to have over for a play date. They start to feel that they have a certain amount of authority, which we happily hand over to them because we see that they are well regulated and well trained in that area, and they have gained a certain expertise.